Good morning, friends. So today we are going to learn about the nuclear power plant. So we are going to see the working principle and layout of the nuclear power plant, how the power generation will taking place. So here in the nuclear power plant works as a similar in the manner of a thermal power plant. So the difference between the two is the fuel used to heat in the water in the boiler. So in case of thermal power plant, so we are using steam generators that we call it as a boilers. So in that boiler, burning of the coal taking place. Coal burning takes place inside of the grate, so that heat will be liberated. So we are using fire tube boiler or water tube boiler. So we are creating the heat by using burning of the coal. But in the whereas in the nuclear power plant, so nuclear reaction taking place, nuclear reaction in the reactor, nuclear reactions taking place, and large amount of heat will be developed. So that heat will be we are using for generating the steam. So in the thermal power plant, the heat produced is different from the steam thermal power plant. So the difference between the two is the fuel used to heat the water in the boiler. So that is the very important thing in the nuclear power plant. So here the heat will be developed in the nuclear power plant is the nuclear reaction taking place in the nuclear reactor. But whereas in the thermal power plant, the boiler burning of the coal will be taking place. Burning of the coal taking place, then heat will be liberated. The hot flue gases will be passing through the tubes. That water will be absorbing the heat, and water will be converted into as a steam. That steam will be supersaturated steam will be goes to the turbine. Then the turbine starts rotating. So inside the nuclear power plant, inside the nuclear power station, the energy released by nuclear fission in the core of the reactor. So that is the important thing. So in the nuclear reactor, in the nuclear power station, energy released by nuclear fission. Energy released by nuclear fission in the core of the reactor. That is the important thing in the nuclear power plant. So in the nuclear reactor, the energy is released by nuclear fission. So we are going to see the what is the nuclear fission. Nuclear fission is taking place in the nuclear power plant. So here 1 kg of uranium U-235 can produce much energy as the burning of 4,500 tons of high grade variety of coal, or 2,000 tons of the oil. So see the difference. 1 kg of uranium produces as much energy as the burning of 4,000 tons of the coal, that high grade of coal. So that is the difference between thermal power plant and nuclear power plant. So here the nuclear reactor fission has taken place. Fission. So what do you mean by fission? So the fission is the splitting of heavy or unstable nuclei into two lighter nuclei. So fission, the splitting of heavy unstable nuclei into the two lighter nucleus. So the splitting of heavy unstable nuclei into the two. So whenever splitting, colliding or bombarding the nucleus into the uranium molecules, so large amount of heat will be generated. Large amount of heat will develop. So due to that heat, so we need to convert the water. Absorbing the water will be absorbing that heat, and water will be converted as a steam. So in the fission process, splitting of heavy. So we are going to see the pictures of the fission process. So this is about fission. So before going to the fission, we need to understand the layout of the power plant. So this is the layout of the thermal power plant. This is the layout of the nuclear power plant. So we have seen the differences between thermal power plant and nuclear power plant. In this nuclear power plant, the main components is nuclear reactor. So in this nuclear reactor, we have a fuel rods. F stands for fuel rods. Then a moderator. Then again we have a fuel reactor. Then we have a control rods. So this is about the control rods. Then we have a heat exchanger. Then we have we have a steam turbine. So this steam will gets to the turbine. Steam will be expanding on the turbine. Then turbine starts rotating. That means mechanical energy will be produced. So the output of this power plant, finally the output of the power plant is going to generate the electrical energy. So how the electrical energy will be produced? So in this nuclear reactor, so nuclear reactions takes place, fission reactions takes place. So due to that, large amount of heat will be developed. So that heat will be passing through with the help of coolant. You may observe the diagram. So you may observe the diagram. So this coolant hot, so whatever the hot developed by the nuclear reaction, so that hot will taking by this hot coolant, then hot coolant will be passing through this heat exchanger. So this heat will be exchanging. So this hot will be given to this water. So this water will be going to this heat exchanger. Then water get heated. Then that steam, that water will be absorbing the heat and the water will be converted as a steam. That steam will be expanding in the steam turbine. So that means a supersaturated steam will be striking on the turbine. Supersaturated steam will be hitting on the turbine. Then turbine starts rotating. That means it will be generating the mechanical energy. So the output of the steam turbine is mechanical energy. So that mechanical energy will goes to the generator. By using this generator, so then the generator shaft is coupled with the steam turbine. So in this generator, so the mechanical energy will be converted into the electrical energy. So the output energy of the nuclear power plant is the electrical energy. So here heat exchanger we are also called as a steam generator. Here so the water will be getting to the heat exchanger, then the water will be absorbing the heat, and that water will be converted into the steam. So that steam, supersaturated steam, will be expanding on the steam turbine. Then the turbine starts rotating, developing the mechanical energy. The output of the steam turbine is mechanical energy. That further it will be converted into the electrical energy by using generator. Right? So whatever in the heat exchanger, the hot coolant will be giving that heat to the water, then water will be converted as a steam. So that hot will be reduced, then cold coolant again will be circulating to the nuclear reactor. So what happened in the nuclear reactor? You may observe here in the nuclear reactor we have a fuel rods, and we have a moderators, and we have control rods also. So we are going to see one by one in the layout of the nuclear reactor how the nuclear reactor works. So in this nuclear chain reaction, so you can observe the diagram. So these neutron will be splitting. So nuclear fission will be taking place in this nuclear reaction. So in the nuclear chain reaction, so the nucleus will be splitting. So the nucleus will be splitting. It will be bombarding the another neutron. So it will be splitting two neutrons. It will be splitting two. So due to the bombarding, due to the collision, so large amount of heat will be developed. So here the splitting of the neutrons will be taking place. So the uranium fuel rods will be splitting. So these neutrons will be bombarding. Due to the collision of the atoms, large amount of heat will be developed. Large amount of heat will be generated. So again further it will be neutron will be splitting. Again these neutrons also will be bombarding. Again these neutrons will be separated. These neutrons will be hitting the atoms. Again large amount of heat will be developed. Again the neutrons will be. So this chain reaction has taken place. So due to the collision, due to the bombarding, so large amount of heat will be generated in the nuclear reactor. So in the nuclear reaction, so uranium exists in the isotope in the form of U-35, which is unstable. So when the nucleus of an atom uranium is split, the neutrons are released hit other atoms and split them into turn. So more energy is released. Large amount of heat will be developed here. So more energy is released each time another atom splits. So this is called as a chain reaction. So when the nuclei of an atom of uranium is split, so nuclei of uranium is split, the neutrons released hit another atoms and split them into turn, so more energy will be developed here. Each time another atom splits, so this is called as a chain reaction. So in the nuclear power plant, chain reaction has taken place, so large amount of heat will be developed due to the nuclear fission. Neutrons released in the fission trigger the fission of the other nuclei. Neutron released in the fission trigger the fissions in the other nuclei. So large amount heat will be developed here. So this is about the nuclear fission. So neutron will be hitting or bombarding the nucleus. So again neutron will be splitting and large amount of heat will be developed here. So in the nuclear power plant, what is the fuel? Nuclear fuel is a substance that is used to nuclear power station to produce the heat to power turbine. So heat is created when the nuclear fuel undergoes a nuclear fission. So large amount of heat will be developed due to the nuclear fission. So most nuclear fuel contain heavy fissile elements that are capable of nuclear fission, such as uranium 235 or plutonium 239. So uranium or plutonium we are using as a nuclear fuel. So this is the parts of the nuclear power plant. So we are going to see the core, moderator. So you may observe the nuclear reactor core. So this is the core of the nuclear reactor. In this core we have a fuel rods and moderators and control rods. So here we have a control rods. You may observe the diagram. So you may observe the diagram. So this is about a nuclear reactor. So in this nuclear reactor we have a control rods, then we have a moderator, right? We have a fuel rods. So one shield is there. Then we have the hot flue gases. Hot gases will goes to the heat exchanger. Hot gases will goes to the heat exchanger. In the heat exchanger, so that water absorbing that heat, then water gets steam. Water will be converted into steam. That steam will goes to the turbine, then the steam will be saturated steam will goes to the turbine, will hitting the turbine, then turbine starts rotating. It will be generating the mechanical energy. So in this reactor we have a fuel rods, moderator and control rod. So these are the important components of the nuclear reactor. So in this nuclear core we have a fuel rods, moderator and control rod will be there. So here in this nuclear reaction taking place in the core, large amount of heat will be developed. So here core, so the nuclear fission process taking place. So moderator, it reduces the speed of the fast moving neutrons. Most moderators are a graphite, water or heavy water. In the core will be, so nuclear fission taking place in the core. Then we have a control rods and moderators. So control rods controlling the reaction, capable reaction. So control rod controls the reaction. Control rod controls the reactions. In the large amount of heat, a large amount of molecule will be, a large amount of heat will be developed. So control rods, if control rod not will be there, so it will be generating large amount of heat. So more amount of neutrons will be generating more amount of, so that will be striking again, it will be bombarding. So large amount of heat will be developed. We need to control that heat nuclear reaction. So for control rod we are using for controlling the reaction, whereas in the moderator will be using for slow down the fast moving neutrons. So moderator, it will be reducing the speed of the fast moving neutrons. The material of the moderator is a graphite, water or heavy water, whereas in the control rods, the control rod materials boron, cadmium, hafnium, so it will be absorbing the neutrons. So to control the rate of reaction by using control rods, to control the rate of reaction by using control rods, but whereas in the moderator it will be slowing down the neutrons. It will be acting as a speed breaker. Moderator will be acting as a speed breaker. So the normal range will be the speed of the neutrons will be with the 1.5 into 10 to the power of 7 meter per second. 1.5 into 10 to the power of 7 meter per second. So by using moderator it will be slow down 2.2 into 10 to the power of 3 meter per second. So it will be reducing the speed of the neutrons. The moderator will be using for reducing the speed of the neutrons. Whereas the control rod control the reaction. Control rod to control the rate of reaction. So the control rod materials like boron, cadmium, like we are using control rod materials, whereas the moderator made by graphite. So moderator or heavy water, so it will be using for moderator. So moderator will be slowing down the neutrons, whereas the control rod will be using for controlling the rate of reaction. Controlling rod will be using for controlling the rate of reaction. So these are the important parts of the nuclear reaction. So this is the nuclear reactor. So you may observe the components. So we have a fuel rods. So the uranium are cladded with the steel or zirconium. So these fuel rods, uranium cladded with the aluminum, zirconium or stainless steel. So this we are observing this so this is about nuclear reactor. So the nuclear reactor mainly consists of fuel rods, control rods, moderator, pressure vessel, reflector, then we have a control shielding, then output will be coolant, that will be goes to the heat exchanger. That hot coolant, whatever the heat developed in the nuclear reaction, so this coolant will get heated, that hot coolant will go to the heat exchanger. In this heat exchanger, the water will be in this heat exchanger, water get exchanging the heat and water will be converted as the steam. That steam will goes to the turbine, then the turbine starts rotating, it will be generating the mechanical energy. Further it will be converted as the electric energy by using generators. So what in the nuclear reaction? So fission in the core, in the nuclear reactor core, the fission reaction is taking place. So here we have a fuel rods. So fuel rods, uranium, in general uranium 235 cladded with the zirconium, aluminum or stainless steel, right? Then we have a control rods. So I already told, to control the rate of reaction, by using the, so large amount of heat will be developed, so large amount of neutrons will be producing. So to control the rate of reaction by using control rods. So these control rod will be forwarding towards the downside, so it will be controlling the whatever the neutrons will be produced. So that will be controlling the whenever the control rods will be gets down, so it will be controlled. That means a number of neutrons will be produced, it will be controlling. Then whereas the moderator will be slow down, moderator will be using for slow down the neutrons. Moderator will be using for slow down for the neutrons. So here due to the nuclear reaction, large amount of heat will be generated. So that large amount of heat will be taken by the coolant. That coolant will goes to the heat exchanger. So in the heat exchanger, so the water will be coming to the input of the heat exchanger. The water will get converted into the steam. Then steam will goes to the turbine. Then turbine starts rotating here. So you may observe the essential components of the nuclear reactor: reactor core, reflector, control mechanism, moderator, coolants, measuring instruments and shielding. So we have a different components. So we have a control rods. I already told, control rod limit the number of fuel atoms. It will be reducing the number of produced nucleus atom. So it will be controlling the rate of reaction. Control rod limits the number of fuel atoms that can split. They are made of boron, cadmium, which absorbs the neutrons. They can made of boron, cadmium, so it will be absorbing the neutrons. So we have a coolant also. So water is used as a coolant. So they carry the intense heat will be generated. The coolant will be carrying whatever the heat will be generated in the nuclear reactor. That heat will be carrying the coolant. By using coolant, that heat will be carried. So water is used as a coolant. Some reactors use liquid sodium as a coolant. So some reactors use as a liquid sodium as a coolant. So the fuel used for a nuclear fission is uranium 235 is the isotope. So another important radiation shield. So large amount of heat will be due to the radioactivity. So radiation shield also will be using, or thermal shielding, to protect the people working from radiation and radiation fragments. To protect the people working from the radiation and radiation fragments by using these radiation shields. So we have a moderator. The chain reaction is not slowed down. By using control rods, the chain reaction is not slowed down. The rate of fission increases rapidly. So a huge amount of energy is released very quickly. So it will be converted as a nuclear bomb. So that we are using control rods. So this is the layout of nuclear power plant. So this is about the pressurized water reactor power plant and boiler water reactor. So you may observe this diagram. So this is about nuclear reactor. Left side, that will be nuclear reactor, and we have a heat exchanger that we call it as a steam generator. So this hot coolant, whatever the heat due to the nuclear reaction, a large amount of heat will be developed here. So due to that, heat will be absorbing this hot coolant. Coolant will get heated. That hot coolant will goes to this steam generator. Then from the right side, the water will be coming to the steam generator. So then water will be getting as the steam. So that steam will be striking on the or expanding in the steam turbine. So after that means a turbine starts rotating, mechanical energy will be generated. Further, it will be converted to use the electrical energy by using a generator. So after striking up the turbine, so this low pressure steam will coming to the condenser. So here the gases will be converted. Phase change will be taking place. So the gases will be converted into the liquid. So by using condensation process, phase change is taking place. So these steam will convert into the water. So again the water will be circulating. The water will be coming to the steam generator. So this is the working layout of the nuclear power plant. I hope you are understanding the concept of a nuclear power plant.